Thanks for joining us, Lucy Jameson, founder of Uncommon Creative. Welcome to the sofa, Lucy Jameson, founder of Uncommon Creative Studio. I nearly didn't get through that. What does after work mean to you?
More work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually feel like I get quite a lot of my best work done when it's sort of peaceful and quiet in the evening.
You're about to hit 9 years of Uncommon Creative Studio. How incredible. So when you launched in 2017, you said, you might not remember this, we're going to do this differently. Can you tell me what differently meant then and what it means to you now?
A lot of it actually is the same. So I think we've been quite consistent about some of the things we thought were problems in the industry which we wanted to fix. So I think back then the data said, 3/4 of brands could disappear from your shelves or supermarket shelves or the apps or your cupboard or whatever, and you wouldn't care. That's only really got worse. We always set out to try and build brands that kind of deserved to exist in the real world. And that has not changed as a problem we're trying to fix. And I think what was different about that was we were single-mindedly focused on that. We were focused on the brands, not the advertising, really, thinking about trying to be famous and then trying to show up right across the brand experience. But right from the get-go, we believed in the studio model. We had uncommon minds all around the world in different markets to be global from the start. We had a much more kind of Avengers Assemble Hollywood model of pulling talent together when we needed it, much more flexible. And I think the world has continued to go that way, and only more so.
Let's talk about the power of no and shaping Uncommon. So, was there a moment when no really defined the company?
Yeah, I think there have been lots actually.
It must be so hard, though, to go, we're going to say no, but I can't. Should we? Should we do it?
It's really hard. I mean, some of the early pitches, we did one big pitch for a tech company early on, and we probably should not have done it. And we kind of, in the end, pulled out, and it was a bit messy. And, but that was absolutely fundamental because it would have been boring work. It would have been multi market. It would have been problematic, and we'd have been sucked into a whole different thing. So it was absolutely the right call. We very often, and I know pitch intermediaries slightly hate us for this, we will go and do a couple of meetings, and sometimes in a tissue meeting, you just realize they don't want what we want, and vice versa. And it's never going to be a good fit. And we're not going to compromise and do what we think is deeply average work. We won't, we're not arrogant about it, but sometimes your values just don't align, and that is fine. And to walk away is fine too.
If you could rewind to 2017 again and do anything differently, what would you do?
Honestly, I don't think we would do much differently. Hindsight is a wonderful thing, but really, I think we had a lot of the right ingredients back then. And the fact that we have not changed our fundamental beliefs suggests we are onto something there.
You have such confidence and conviction in the values you started at the very beginning. I've had you sit here and I've sort of probed into, is there anything you regret? Is there anything you'd change? And the answer is often no.
Yeah.
And I've got such admiration for the fact that you're like, no, where we started isn't far from where we are now. Obviously, success has been huge, but you've stuck to
Stuck
with
to our
your guns.
guns. Yeah. But that's what we teach all of our clients. You build a brand, you stick with it. It takes people years to sort of realize who you are and what you do. If you keep changing that, no one stands a chance of understanding who you are, why you exist, and what matters to you. So you really have to think about what's important to you, what your values are, what matters, what kind of work you want to do, quite hard up front. spend that time, and then don't question it afterwards. Just get on with it.
And you said to me you don't have time to sort of question the decisions that have been and gone.
Yeah.
It doesn't go through your mind. It's done. It's over. It's in the background now.
I think that is one of the biggest things you learn when you run a business. There is no point continually relitigating decisions you've made. Just doesn't make any sense. You need to do it maybe once to go, can I learn from it? Once you've done that, put it in a box and forget about it. There is no point. None of us have the emotional energy to deal with doing that. You just can't spend your life worrying about things that happened in the past you can't change.
So you've worked with Nils for nearly 14 years and Natalie for 13, 12, something like that.
Yeah.
You've also said that a good strategy often comes from a good argument.
Yeah.
So what does a healthy argument look like between the three of you?
With Nils and I, it's almost always about work in terms of creative work and a brand idea or creative platform. You know, we will argue about, I think he's being too kind of, I don't know, obscure, needs to be more direct or whatever it might be. And we will go at each other hammer and tongs about something being wrong or right. But I think that's really healthy, because it allows us to think out loud what's right and wrong, rehearse any arguments, you know, that we think we might get in a pitch from a client. And again, you know, once we've had it out, that's it, done.
Yeah.
We argue them out. We're quite okay with that. And I think a lot of other agencies are much more worried about being nice. We are not. We'd much prefer to have the row and get it out in the open, do it, and then shut the door on it.
How do you think your relationship with the founders has evolved over the last almost 9 years?
I don't know.
We haven't.
I don't know that we... I don't know that any of us have evolved, really. I mean, we know each other better, but we knew each other pretty well. You know, I think you don't go through what we went through, which was resigning, not being able to really talk to, I mean, all kinds of stuff happened to us in that year. And you're not allowed to make any plans or commitments or put anything on paper. So you have a year where you really don't know whether you're going to end up in business with each other or not, because a lot can happen in a year. So it was that sort of thing of you've got no guarantee. So you have to place an enormous amount of faith, because you've, you know, resigned from your big job, you've not had a salary, and you still no commitment that you're all going to do what you said you were going to do in a year's time.
That's scary.
Once you've been through that, I think you have an enormous amount of trust and faith. Then saying pandemic, I mean, honestly, we had no idea whether we would have a business or not in a year's time. You've been through a lot of up and downs, and you do fundamentally have just a very high degree of trust in those people.
So how about you evolving as a leader?
Yeah.
I mean, how are the ways you've evolved in the last 9 years?
Well, one of the problems I have is I never think of myself as a leader. It's a mental struggle I have to imagine that people would look up to anything I do or say.
No,
it is. I just don't think of myself like that. I just do my job and get on with it. So in my head, I constantly have to remind myself that the way I behave, people are actually looking at. Because it's not an automatic thing for me. A really good friend of mine took over.
You don't read the PR, do you, Lucy?
A really good friend of mine took over as CEO of a quite well-known business, and she said the weirdest thing is I realise people are looking at me. And I absolutely relate to that, because it's not, you know, how I think of myself. I just think of myself as getting on and doing this stuff.
The irony is you create fame for brands, but you don't really want it for you.
Yeah, I'm not very interested in that. It's a useful thing I know I need for the business, but it's not where I get very, very excited. There are certain things I want to say.
Yeah.
Like, I want our industry to succeed. I want Britain to succeed. I feel like we don't have enough creative voices in the UK, and all of those things I'm prepared to make a noise about, because I think they matter. And what we do in a world of AI, all the rest of it. So I can get excited about that. I just don't get really excited about it for me on a personal level. And then mostly what I think is probably helpful is that I'm quite calm and quite fair. I don't have a very high emotional register, if that makes sense. I'm not an uppy-downy person. I'm pretty like that. And I think that gives people quite a lot of psychological safety. They know, I'm going to tell them exactly what I think. There is no doubt in people's minds, whether I think they've done a good job or a bad job. It's not very personal either.
Running Uncommon, what's the most joyful thing about running the business?
My dad had a few strokes over the last 2-3 years, and I was up in Edinburgh and staying with my parents, and I was busy doing some work in the conservatory because it was the only place that had decent Wi-Fi and was quiet, and I could go and visit my dad in the afternoon. And I was chatting to my mum in the evening when we were having dinner, and she sort of said to me, I still don't really understand what you do at all. But what I would say is that I heard you laughing a lot all day on your conference calls. And to me, I think that probably is, the best sign. I think we forget that a lot, that great creativity comes in an environment that is not one that's filled with fear or pressure. It is where you can laugh at all the stupid stuff. And I think we forget that at our peril. I'm quite Scottish, so I've got a bit of that Puritan work ethic, fear of the workhouse, my mum used to call it. I have that definitely, need to kind of continue, but just to remember to laugh at what we do.
That's it, Lucy.
Pleasure.
Thank you for joining us and having a cuppa.
Long awaited. It was great.
Mate.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.